Hey, this is Jason Holzer, and if you really want to learn how to level up your life, you should listen to the Time to Shine Today podcast with my friend Scott Ferguson.
Time to shine today, Varsity Squad. It is Scott Ferguson, and today I get to bring you Jason Holzer. He is a thought empowerment coach. He will really run you through fantastic drills. And I'm using a lot of sports metaphors because Jason's really into sports. I mean, the guy is a highly connected, just a fantastic individual who's actually put me in touch with so many fantastic people that, you know, it helps me level up every day. He's the epitome of a go-giver. But back to the thought and leveling up your thoughts, he's going to remind you that a lot of your thoughts every day are negative. And it's how we respond to those thoughts and how we can put into action thoughts that are going to empower us and, like we say, level up. So without further ado, here's my really good friend, Jason Holzer. Hey, time to shine today, Varsity Squad. It is Scott Ferguson, and I am really super stoked to bring on my good friend, Coach Jason Holzer. He's located there in the Midwest, in around Kansas City, Missouri. He's a Chiefs fan, so he's celebrated a little bit with the Super Bowl. You know, and he's got that St. Louis Cardinals stuff on. I don't know if we can do this without me kind of coming down on him a little bit, but no, I'm just kidding, man. He's fantastic. Jason's went through a ton in his life, and me and him are kind of kindred spirits in a sense. We both lost loved ones to suicide. And so I really vetted Jason out. I didn't vet him out. What I did is I really was searched for people that have dealt with this, and he can help people really level up their life no matter what scenario you're in. He's a certified thought and post-traumatic growth speaker storyteller. So he's a coach of, I'll call him the Quadzilla here. It looks like four of them. So he helps people understand their thoughts and impacting how they feel and their behavior. He also helps them replace negative thoughts with positive thoughts and feelings so they can improve their quality of life. And at the end, we're going to talk about his new program that's launched in the 4D athletes, which is going to be fantastic. But Jason, welcome to Time to Shine today. And please introduce yourself to our squad. But first, what is your favorite color and why?
My favorite color is orange, actually.
Okay.
I think it's because orange is, I believe orange signifies energy and it's a bright, warm color. And as a kid, I always resonated with the color orange,
Gotcha.
For whatever reason. Yeah.
So it's not just because you ran a bunch of like yellow, red lights, because red and yellow makes orange.
Hey, up here they say that yellow, it's either slow down or speed up. So
That's awesome. Hey man, seriously, thanks so much for coming on, brother, man. It's been a long time coming. Really wanted to, glad you made time for it. Can you give us a little bit of origins and kind of take us back to your challenging story and how you've used that to level up and help others?
Yeah. I was 17 years old and it was May. It was about this time, in 2003. And, I was getting ready for my senior year, getting ready to go to college. And, so I had a lot of exciting things happening in my life. And what I didn't realize though, was my dad was really struggling with his job and with life in general. And, I ended up losing him on May 8th, 2003 to suicide. Sorry. And, that was something that, changed my life forever. There's no bouncing back from losing a loved one like that. There's only, figuring out what your new normal is, because, it's never going to be the same.
Sure. So when it happened, I'm going to dig a little bit deeper because I just I went through it as well 11 years ago. So which you said you're 35. So it's been almost 20 years for you.
Yeah.
There's really no really normal though, is there? There's still that numbing feeling that kind of creeps up on you. Am I saying that right?
Yeah. And I would actually go through phases where I would feel almost every emotion you could possibly feel, and then I would go into waves of feeling nothing.
Right.
And I talk about that in my book of like, I would almost overwhelm my emotions, just almost overwhelm me to where I would just almost like shut down and then go completely numb because I felt too much at one time, if that's possible. Yeah. So, I mean, it's different than losing somebody, in a natural way or, it's just, I don't know, there's a level of confusion involved as well.
Did you seek help? And if you did, how long did you wait until you sought it?
You know, I didn't seek professional help. My mom encouraged it. My young adult ego told me that I could handle it on my own, kind of thing.
Absolutely. Sure.
But what I did do though was, I really latched onto my faith, and I did ask God for mentors, for people to come into my life. And you know, he and I believe like God works in great ways, and He has continually brought people in my life at the perfect moment for exactly what I needed, that maybe my dad could have taught me about.
Love
And
that,
so
Jason. Yeah.
that's been amazing. From a gratitude standpoint, looking back,
Yeah.
and I can see like, oh wow, okay, they came in my life at the perfect time, because I needed this then and guidance in this. And you know, I can tell you story after story about people that have came in my life at the perfect time to help
Sure.
me become where I'm at right now.
Because you're open to God giving it to you. You know what I'm saying? That's the thing, is you're
Yeah.
open. That's another version of his abundance. I'm a man of faith, and, people out there, my subscribers and everybody that listens knows that for sure. So, I mean, it sounds like to me, you really surrendered and open to the abundance, no matter how weak you felt. And that's fantastic. You set that ego aside, even though it pops up on you thinking, like you said, you're a
Yeah.
teenager, you're kind of rolling through. It's like, I can handle everything. But sometimes, man, it just gets overwhelming. And sometimes something comes over you, maybe an anxiety attack, and you're like, wait a minute, where did that even come from, right? So you turn to
Yeah.
God, and so mentors showed up in your life then, eh?
Yeah. I mean, I had are you familiar with Young Life by any chance?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
A
So
little bit,
I
not
was
as much as you are, but a
I
little
was
bit. Yeah.
involved in high school. I was involved in Young Life before my dad passed away.
Okay.
Um, and then there were two guys. One of them is now a high school football coach. Another one is he's actually a teacher out in Oregon. But they were in the same area. Like they went to Mizzou, and they're college kids that just come in and they mentor high school kids, which is
Okay.
really cool because they're farther along in life, but not that much farther where you can kind of relate to them still.
Sure.
And they just listened to me.
Gotcha.
Like I would be able to call them because they didn't try to fix anything. They didn't try to give me the to say, oh hey, it'll be okay, like brush it off. They just like, hey, what are you going through?
Right.
So I would just tell them,
That's
and they
awesome.
just said, oh wow, like I don't know, I can't you know relate to that, but I can give you a listening ear, and that made a big difference in me, to have somebody, an older male that I could just vent to or
Sure.
explain what I'm going through.
Right. And it almost kind of made him that person immortal because he passed it forward to you. And you're taking a lot of this and passing it forward to others as well that you've been learned and taught. So tell us a little bit about, setting up your coaching program, what you do, who you help. Give us the
Yeah.
origins of that, please.
So a guy actually out of Sarasota, Florida, named Johnny Calloway. We're on I'm in a group called Guts, Grit, and Grind, which is men's mental health group,
Okay.
and we have books that we're publishing to help men understand the importance of mental health. And he was like, "Yeah, I'm a thought coach," and I was like, "What does that mean?" Yeah, I was like, "What is that?" He was like, "Well, I help people understand how their thoughts connect to their emotions and how their emotions connect to their actions." And then I was like, "Oh, wow, okay." So I looked it up. I went through the course, and it just kind of it resonated with me because of what happened with my dad.
Hmm.
And so now I was like, "Who can I really help?" And I've been a basketball coach for 12 years. I was like, I'm going to focus on athletes, and I'm going to focus on suicide loss survivors. And then so I've kind of been working on that. I'm new. It's still very new, so I'm still finding my way with it. But the people that I have helped, that I've worked with, they're like, wow, that really helped me understand, why I'm acting a certain way based off of what I'm thinking.
Love it. So what do you think makes a great coach then, Jason?
The ability to ask the right questions, the
Okay.
ability to allow somebody to find the solutions themselves through question, because some people I don't know that well. And so asking the right questions helps them think. And if they're able to think, then they feel like they own the answers as opposed to somebody telling them what to do.
Sure.
And that makes them more likely to follow through with what comes out of a coaching session.
So so it sounds like to me that you kind of picked up from your mentors. They probably asked you some pretty powerful questions that drew out the answers. Then they helped you on the path. Is that kind of what you're doing as well?
Yeah, absolutely, man. It's and asking yourself and asking others the right questions, because the way your mind works is always looking for answers.
It does.
And so, and a lot of us ask the wrong questions, like, well, why is this happening to me? Or why am I going through this? And then, instead of questions like, well, why, instead of like, why am I able to handle this?
Right.
Why am I able to help other people through this? Or, why am I so blessed to, have an amazing family?
Right.
So it's flipping your questions to
Right.
allow your mind to find the right answers of
Love
of
that.
what you want.
And it's funny that no matter what you're doing, you're asking a question, no matter what. When you read my email, you're like, do I want to come on this dude's podcast? You know what I'm saying? It's like you're driving down the road and you need to make a left. You're firing. Do I turn on my left turn signal? It's like everything's a
Yeah.
question. But like you just said, the more powerful the question, the more it makes you dig and think and pull out to progress is what's important. So with
Yeah.
that being said, you take on a new client, they're aboard with your coaching program. What share with us a little bit of your secret sauce to helping your new clients find their blind spot?
Well, there's four pillars that, in life. There's your personal life, there's your career life, there's your health, like your physical health, and then there's your emotional health. So it's like, or your relationships. And so what I ask them is, of the four, which one do you feel like you could use the most help with? And then, so I, kind of asking those like background questions, kind of getting to know the person a little bit more, creating an authenticity, creating a relationship. And then through that, I might ask them like, hey, what's a thought that continuously you have in your mind that repeats over and over again? And then, cause so we have 70,000 thoughts a day, roughly.
Wow.
And then for the average person, at least 75% of those thoughts are negative, ironically.
Wow.
Because that's the way we used to survive, was to look for things, back in the day, like, 1,000 years ago, we survived by focusing on what our predators were. So we could, but now today we can flip that and we can change our mind to think
That's
positively
a
because we
great
don't
point.
have those same,
Yeah.
going back to the origins of how we survived way back when.
Yes. Yeah. Because we
And
were
so now
always
we
in
can,
a fight or flight kind of thing, like in looking out for bad things to happen to you. So of those
Mhm.
70,000 thoughts a day, Jason, what you're saying is that, man, they could be majority negative because how we're pre-programmed in a sense,
right.
correct?
Yeah. And so we have to actually reprogram ourselves through our subconscious
Sure.
on thinking positively,
Right.
and that takes time, and it takes little daily action steps, daily steps that you can do to do that. And over time, it gets better and better and better,
Wow.
and negative thought. Think about this too, Scott. A negative thought is 40 to 70 times more powerful than a positive thought.
Wow.
So for every negative thought that you get emotion involved with, you are 40 to 70 times more, drawn to that negativity than if you are conscious thinking positive and getting emotionally involved with positive thoughts.
And your coaching program helps people recognize the negative thoughts and then kind of put a plan
Yeah.
in action of how to maybe have that conscious gatekeeper outside the subconscious for not letting stuff
Right.
come in. Okay.
And if you think about this too, most of the thoughts that we have are from outside sources. Like a lot of times we don't even think or generate our own thoughts because, TV talks about programming, and so they're literally programming you
Yeah.
to, and then if you don't consciously think about it and reject some of those things that you don't want to get involved with, then it's going right into how you're feeling.
Sure.
That's
Absolutely,
called,
man.
you know what I mean? So
Great points.
it's very important. Like you mentioned, being a gatekeeper, you really have to be conscious of what you're allowing in your mind.
Absolutely. That's what we kind of tell people here at Time to Shine today. And even my clients, that you are the gatekeeper. You can control what goes in. And like you said, kind of rewire in the programming. So let me ask you something. If I'm out networking, which here in South Florida, we're kind of allowed to a little bit more out press and flush, a little bit more. People that are listening, we're kind of coming into phase 1 and phase 2, coming out of our COVID quarantine that we've been in for about 93,000 days. But anyway, so if I'm out networking, pressing some flesh, talking to people, and I'm listening to what they're saying, what would they say that would make them a great person to connect with you, refer to you? What are they saying to me?
I'm stuck, or like, hey man, I feel like, I'm in a rut, like, or I feel like I'm getting in the same cycle of, the same things keep happening over and over again. And that would tell me that they are in a thought process that is a fixed mindset. meaning
Wow.
like they don't think that they can get better. Like they think that their situation is how it's always going to be. So I would say, look for people that feel like, oh, maybe it's an income level, or maybe it's a relationship level. Maybe they feel like, their relationships aren't growing or, building. So I would say, find patterns and ask them like, hey, do you find yourself like repeating the same things over and over again?
Love it.
Because that's what I've, with athletes telling me, hey, if I've hit a certain level in my performance and I can't get to the next level. Okay, like, well, let's talk about this. And sometimes, it's a thought that they had that a coach or a parent told them way back whenever they were like young,
Yeah.
like, going back to 6, 7, 8 years old, whenever you are like just forming your conscious, your confidence, like that kind of thing.
Right.
And when you're able to dig that thought out, it's almost like pulling a weed out of the ground. You
Wow.
pull it
Yeah.
out by the roots, then you can replace it with something that's more, fruitful of what you want, and then you able to like take you to the next level.
You got to make sure that when you do plant that, to cultivate, water,
Yeah,
always feed that
right.
good stuff. If not, that weeds could grow up around it. So let's
Yeah,
hop in our, let's see, you're 35. So you'd probably remember Back to the Future, Marty
yeah,
McFly.
sure.
Okay. So let's get
Yeah.
in the DeLorean with Marty, man. Let's go back to the 22, 23-year-old Jason. What kind of knowledge nuggets are you dropping on him with the experience that you have now?
Develop your intuition. Develop your mental faculties, your memory, your perception. You know, things like that, and dive into personal growth. Like I've been fully immersed in. I mentioned I'm a post traumatic growth speaker and storyteller. If I understood who I am, I would be much farther along, and I wouldn't have had gone through. I would be able to handle or cope with some of the things that I was going through if I knew what I know now. Whenever I'm in my early 20s, and
Would your early
so
20s, Jason, be receptive? Because mine wouldn't. Like, if I was to go back with what I'm almost 50 years old. So it's
I
like,
think I would like to say I would, because I think it's about showing people results and
okay,
like and getting after what you really want.
sure,
You gotta like, hey, because your results are just a product of what you've done previously, right?
sure.
So if you don't like your results, then figure out how we can change them. You know, I like to think I would, but it's like, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. Yeah, at
Sure.
least you give them the tool,
Right.
So
So
yeah.
when you're bringing people in and you're starting kind of the discovery process with them, is there any good question that you wish they would ask you but never do?
Um, that's a great question, actually. I think, a lot of people, they're focusing on what they can get. I would say, hey, if you're in a rut, ask yourself, what is something I could give to somebody else?
Okay.
Because we are givers by nature, and a lot of
Sure.
people we're always trying to get what's the next thing we can get, whether it be networking or whether it be business, whether it be in relationships, whatever. But when you flip your perception and focus on what you can give to somebody else,
Right.
you feel like, you feel happier, actually, ironically,
Okay.
so I would say, if people would ask me, hey, what's something I could give, and it can be as simple as like, sending a friendly text, or sending like, or calling somebody and ask them like genuinely, hey, how are you doing? you know
That
it doesn't have to be like money, or it doesn't have to be,
no.
like something big. There's little things you can do every day to be a giver that
Sure.
makes a big difference.
Oh, absolutely, man. And also when you're doing the giving, to be open to reciprocation. It's funny you said that, because I did something for somebody that I knew just last week will never reciprocate. But out of the blue, my goddaughter called me. You know what I'm saying? It's just like
Oh yeah, yeah.
God produces in different ways. And I had to step back on me, and that she never calls. And she did not need anything, want anything. She just like, Poppy, I just wanted to chat with you. So just being like, I see what you're saying there. That's fantastic. So let's remove our cell phone. Let's remove our computers. Anything technological. What are 3 things Jason can't live without?
um the book called The Buddha and the Badass by
Okay.
Vishen Lakhiani. um my wife and kids, and basketball,
I was just gonna say,
sports.
you can say b-ball, man. It's okay.
Yeah, no, yeah.
There's no food,
um
man. I mean, I'll tell you what, I'm taking chicken
Food,
wings.
yeah, well, I guess, yeah. Touche. I guess I was taking that for granted, like, because that's gonna be
I know,
a
right?
necessity. But
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Hey,
So a
so
good book, and you know, uh, Yeah.
So we talk about the dash here a lot at A Time to Shine today, and we want to know how you want your dash remembered, that little mark in between your life date and death date. How do you want to be remembered in that dash? Maybe your epitaph.
Simple phrase was, I believe, like gifted to me in my mind. And it was, I've been saying a lot lately. It's give life a chance to get better.
Love
Um,
it.
and, cause hard, you're not going to, if you live long enough, you're going to go through some things,
Sure.
but there's also an opposite. And if you believe that something better is coming, if you have some optimism, life does get better, and
Absolutely.
it was about half I've almost lived without my dad for as long as I did get a chance to live
Sure.
with him, and to see where I'm at now compared to where I was 17 as a 17-year-old,
Right.
like, wow, it's amazing how much better my life seems to continue to get because of the way I've been training my mind.
Sure. And it's like, old TR, Tony Robbins says, pain is life, suffering's a choice, right? So
Yeah.
no matter what, we're
Mhm.
going to have it, just how we handle it. So what would Jason's definition of a life well lived then? What would that be?
um how much have you impacted other people? How many people have you helped? How many people have you brought with you to make their lives of significance, of purpose and passion, and finding their path to greatness.
Love that, Jason. Fantastic. So as we wind things down a little bit, we go into what's called our leveling up lightning round. All right. So you and I could talk 15, 20, 30, 40, probably an hour per question. Okay. But um, I'm going to give you 5 seconds so you can answer them all real quickly.
Okay.
So you ready
All
to
right.
rock?
Yeah, let's do it.
Here we go. What's the best leveling up advice you've ever received?
The best leveling up advice I ever did. The Golden Rule by Sam Jones. He said, "What I want for myself, I want for everyone else." So, like,
Love it.
creating win-win situations.
Love that. Love that. Share one of your personal habits contributes to your success.
My morning routine.
My man, I knew you were going to say that. So, Buddha and the Badass, probably your favorite book, or do you got another one that's?
Yeah, Think and Grow Rich.
Of course, yeah,
By
you go.
Napoleon Hill is a
Yeah,
good
man.
one. And then on my shelf here, trying to think of one. Psycho Cybernetics by
Oh man,
Maxwell Maltz
yeah,
talks about
yeah.
self-image and how that's important. So those couple
And
will
then the
be
Matt Fury updated one's actually pretty good too. Matt
okay.
Fury, he kind of took over the Psycho Cybernetics company. And again, here I am digressing, but no, it's
Yeah,
it's fantastic. All those books are literally on my shelf. Good for you, man. What is your most commonly used emoji when you text?
either thumbs up.
Okay, my man. What's
Yeah.
if you could be one age for the rest of your life, what would it be?
The age I'm at right now, because
Beautiful.
I wouldn't want to go back anywhere else.
I would take 35 again, a heartbeat, bro. Just for the physical feeling. You know what I'm saying?
Probably,
You know?
yeah. So I do tell my wife, I'm like, hey, I'm 23, from a physical standpoint,
There
but I want to think like I'm 55, or
you
something like
go.
that. Have the knowledge,
There you
combine those
go.
two things. Yeah.
Love that. Love that. So any favorite charity or organization you give time and or money to?
My church, and then I also involved in the Guts, Grit, and Grind group with men's mental health is one thing as well,
Okay.
that I'm involved with a lot. And then USSI, which is United Suicide Survivors International, which is a global group of people that we find ways to help bend the curve of like suicide and help people value their lives.
Love it. And they have a website?
Yeah, USSI does.
Okay, cool.
Yep.
I'll make sure that that's in the show notes, people.
Yep.
All right, last question. What is the best decade of music, 60s, 70s, 80s, or 90s?
Oh, 90s.
All right, my man. Okay, very cool. Very cool. Awesome. So how can we find you,
I
Jason?
mean,
Yeah, you do. You're the train.
and think about the 90s. You got like Coolio from Gangster's Paradise. You got Nelly at the end. I mean, and then
Yeah,
all the rock
Nirvana
and little
opening up the
Nirvana.
90s,
Yeah,
Pearl
that's right.
Jam, Red Hot Chili Peppers,
So
they all bring it, man.
I'm just saying, like, it's a good decade.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm more of a product of the 80s because I graduated high
Okay.
school in 1990. But as the 80s, you had your Cure or Crew, Motley Crue. So you had kind of the hair bands or the British
And
bands.
the White Snake, and then
U2, and
Yeah.
like 80s and 90s is my jam. I'm always having it on iHeartRadio. So
yeah,
that's
yeah.
fantastic. So how can we find you, brother?
Yeah, I'm on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter. I haven't got to a website yet, with COVID and stuff going on. I had to focus on taking care of my family first. And so
Absolutely.
websites probably, 40athletes.com is in the works. It's probably
Okay.
going to be available here in the next couple of weeks. That's going to really, show people about like the essential life skills in the sports program that we're developing.
Gotcha.
But yeah,
Okay.
that's kind of where you can find me.
Tell us a little bit about the 40 athletes.
So me and another coach, basketball coach, we've been all about, we've been teaching life skills through sports for a while, just with our teams. We're like, what if we made a program where we could transform athletes across the world? It was kind of our big goal, And so we've come up with a 24-week program. So it's about 6 months that where every day there's 5 to 10 minute lessons on different habits you can develop for kids. So whenever they are done playing sports, they have skills that can help them in anything that they do.
Love it.
Because a lot of times kids will quit sports by time 75% of kids stop playing sports by the time they're 14.
Gotcha. Absolutely.
Which is a problem, I think, in my
Absolutely.
opinion.
Sports
So
teach,
like
like
how can
we spoke off camera or off air about how important sports is. What does the 4D stand for?
4 dimensions.
Okay.
So your emotions, your spirit, your physicality, and then your environment. So
Okay.
those are the 4. So like your environment is things you can't see around you. It's the what the time that you put in, and it's the reaction of what you put into the time. So a lot
Love
of
it.
people don't understand that. So that's what the 4 dimensions are.
So leave us with one last knowledge nugget that you want the Time to Shine varsity squad to take with them, internalize, and put into action.
Authenticity. Just be you, and then and be somebody that's willing to help others. Be a collaborator, not a competitor. Because there's enough opportunities for all of us, and we were meant to create. So, and just be who you are, because a lot of people try to be somebody else or and they lose their identity in the process.
Love it.
So just be you.
That's just awesome, Jason. I mean, I have like a whole book of notes here from my boy Jason Holzer squad, and I'm sure that you, if you've been doing the right thing, should have been taking some solid notes. Ask God or whoever you believe your creator is for mentors, and be genuine about it. They will show up. He's involved with Guts, Grit, and Grind. I can't wait to find out a little bit more about that, and also see the book they're putting out. When you're talking to yourself, ask yourself solid questions, powerful questions that's going to help you level up within the 4 pillars of personal, career, health, and emotional parts of your life. And just, he dropped a solid fact that we have 70,000 thoughts a day, and up to 70% of those thoughts are negative thoughts. So be aware, be positive, use that, gatekeeper of the conscious mind in front so it doesn't turn into your habits and actions. If you're stuck in a rut, if you feel like you're in the same cycle or in a fixed mindset, make sure you get with Jason. I can make a personal introduction to you if you'd like. Absolutely not a problem. He talks about developing your intuition and mental factors, always leveling up there. If things are going bad, give life a chance. Just keep pushing forward. If you fail forward, and always level up. And he reminds us finally to be authentic, be a collaborator and not a competitor. I mean, it's always times, when you got to hit that jump shot at the end of the game, right, Jason? But you know what I'm saying? But be a collaborator, be a team player, help as many people as you can. And that's exactly what Jason does. Jason's humble, yet he's hungry. He's always leveling up his health, leveling up his wealth. He's a fired up individual, and I'm glad he's a part of our squad. So thank you so much, Jason, for coming on, brother.
Thank you for having me, man. It's been great. Appreciate it.
Awesome. Chat soon, my friend.
Yep.
Hey, thanks so much for listening to this episode of Time to Shine Today podcast. Proudly brought to you by Sutter & Nugent Real Estate Excellence, who can be reached at 561-249-7266 and online at www.sutterandnugent.com. If you're a business owner or professional who would like to be interviewed on Time to Shine Today, please visit timetoshinetoday.com/guest. If you like this episode, please subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, iHeartRadio, or wherever you get your podcasts. There's a link in the show notes to our website. Also there, you will see our recommended resources. We hope that you will support our show by supporting them. If you like what you've been listening to, it'd be great if you could just give us a 5-star rating and tell your friends how to subscribe while you're at it. I'm your host, Scott Ferguson, and until next time, let's level up. It's our time to shine.